Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, and it's just me today because I was sick for our usual streaming time, and so probably just gonna keep it brief today and do a couple of the dailies and basically just have this be a little bit of a fill-in, a makeup of sorts for us having missed our usual session. So looks like today it's the combination of Derelict and Remnant Mastery, so we can take whatever character we want, whatever difficulty we'd want as well. Maybe we'll just stick with the Human Sentinel here, because we're mostly looking at the health and the, the health and shield regeneration delay reduction. For a second I thought those were on different levels. I was pretty sure those were at the same point. But there's one more that's relatively close to getting maxed out, but that one, don't need to put as much effort into that, because that has a fair bit of a head start. So why don't we go for, what did we say, Derelict plus Remnant, I believe? I guess we could see if anyone happens to be doing this right now. Otherwise, we'll probably just start off doing this stuff solo, and, you know, we can always make the lobby public, see if anyone else hops in, but it's not like I'm in Discord right now and expecting anyone else to jump in or anything like that, so it may very well just end up being us and no one else. Just double check. Remnant, Derelict. Yes, okay. Sure. And given how we're just doing it solo right now, yeah, we'll probably make it public, see if anyone else jumps in. If they do, then maybe on the next one we'll bump up the difficulty, but for now, we'll just keep it as a bronze solo. And it does make it easier for us to farm up more points for Remnant. I mean, usually the enemy-specific ones are the easiest dailies to get, because you get points not only counted from the kills you get, but also from doing objectives. And that's, obviously it's not a huge difference maker, or at least it's not a huge number of points that are specific to the objectives, but sometimes that's just enough to get you to the threshold where you can actually finish that daily in just one match. And solos do help in that regard as well, because going back to the points from getting kills and damage, obviously you're the only person getting any points for that. You don't just split your points across an entire team, so if this does remain a solo, then we will probably be all set on that front from just one match. Granted, we're gonna have to do a second match for the map-specific daily anyway, so it doesn't matter that much. You're talking about one match versus two matches. Bigger deal if it takes more than two matches to get one of those dailies done, because then suddenly, okay, well, that is more than we would need just for the map-specific daily in that case.
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
Oh, what? I saw this guy out of the corner of my eye, and for some reason I thought that was the only enemy left. It's like, where did that guy just start blasting us from behind from?
Go us!
Enemies incoming.
Let's get out of here.
Fortunately, of course, on bronze, it's pretty straightforward. At least until any objective waves start popping up. These guys are
Get safe.
not the most... Well, I mean, it would help if I hit the enemies, of course, but not that challenging to take these guys out, especially if we can get those concussive explosions to go off. That is sometimes a little tricky, though, against Remnant. But that's just a bonus, really.
3 left.
That guy shoot us through the floor? The angles just didn't seem to add up there.
Enemies cleared. Stay
Alright,
alert.
so now we get our first moment of truth. See what objective we get. Okay, hack can still be tricky. Depends, of course, on where it is.
Intelligence needs data from your location.
This
Look for an
is
entry.
possibly the worst spot on this map. Is the first of the objective waves, which does help. Not quite as many tanky enemies for us to deal with. There are still some nullifiers, though. Fortunately, they're quite slow. Really more so a matter of to what extent we get completely surrounded by things like assemblers and breachers. If you don't deal with them fairly quickly, they can start to add up. And sneak up behind you, except we got a teammate. So at this point, that should make this very straightforward. Obviously, it's bronze, so it's not
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
like we are on a particularly challenging difficulty here.
Reload. We're
But
tracking reinforcements.
sometimes solos are solos. The hacks, but really even more so the uploads can get tricky. So the math changes considerably, or the logistics really change considerably once you get a second person in. Suddenly, we don't have 100% of the enemy aggro on us, and that makes it a whole lot easier to do basically everything. At least from an objective standpoint. As we said, we obviously won't accumulate our points quite as quickly as we otherwise would. So if for whatever reason you're really concerned about trying to get those dailies done as quickly as possible, like the dailies are about to reset, you don't even think you're going to have time for 2 matches, then maybe you can make a case for deliberately going with a solo and keeping it as a solo. You know, do the private lobby. Try to just farm up as many points as possible, as quickly as possible, and sneak in just before the dailies reset. But that is not the case here, so we should be fine. We do not need to... Oh. We would stand to benefit from hitting the enemies, yes, as we've previously said. But we do not need to perfectly optimize
Go get 'em.
everything on this occasion. We will be fine. And I haven't seen really what our teammate is doing.
All enemies clear. Keep it up.
We tell...
That was great.
That looks like... Is that an Avenger? Might be Base Human Soldier Avenger? Which might mean they're new. I haven't seen in the kill feed what they were using. But again, on bronze, doesn't really matter what they're doing. Just the fact that they exist is all we really need. Their presence alone is helpful. And if they are new, then we'll help them out. Yeah, Avenger. Normal Avenger. No, I mean, we probably could have seen the visual on the weapon itself, because it is a different color if they had, like, the siphon or concussive. I guess at a quick glance we might have missed that, but
Just 3 hostiles.
point being, that would suggest they may be new, but I don't recognize their name either.
Great shooting.
First round's on me.
Interesting play on words there. Alright.
Find artifacts and return to the drop point. Marking first location.
It's the pizza. Excuse me. That was closer than I would have liked, perhaps.
Secure.
Next pizza is right next to all those destroyers, or at least right where they were coming from before. Oops.
Teammate injured.
Uh-oh. Okay, that timing is not ideal. Where are they exactly? We can make a detour, right? We are about to get blasted by this destroyer, though.
No shield out. I've got you.
Got the
Okay.
drop.
Where to? We've all been in the same area, which is kind of nice some of the time. Less so when all the enemies are right on top of pizzas. Okay, destroyers.
Almost done.
Uh-oh.
Artifact recovered.
Okay. Again, pizza is close by. Oh, did they get stomped? Okay. I think they did. Yeah, I am a little bit blocked. That is true. A little bit of a standoff at the moment. One moment. Oh, a breacher on top of me as well. I didn't realize that. Okay, well,
Objective complete.
one step at a time. Pizzas have been delivered. The enemies, many of whom were previously standing directly on top of us, will slowly whittle away at their numbers. Fortunately, that doesn't take too long on bronze. Ow. That nullifier took issue with that statement. Should have just gone near center weak point rather than taking out the turrets. Not that necessary on bronze. Also, fun fact, on the lower difficulties with destroyers,
Hostiles remaining.
if you destroy their turrets, it basically staggers the destroyer altogether, and if they're in the middle of doing their main cannon animation with their big weak point in the middle, then it staggers them out of that, which is good from the standpoint of you're not going to get hit by a huge cannon blast. However, it means they're no longer exposing that weak point. So on bronze, that's kind of significant because you probably have enough damage that you can just kill them altogether by shooting that center weak point, and you're kind of just slowing yourself down by going after the side turrets. Whereas on platinum, taking out the turrets does not stagger them, so they will continue to do this animation. Like, that's basically what I was just referring to before. That time I just went for the center cannon, because we have enough damage on bronze to take them out immediately. But if I took out the turret, then it would stop that animation, and, here, ready? Take out the turret, stops the animation because he's staggered, no longer has the weak point in the middle. So it's slower, but safer in most circumstances to go that route. It's just that on bronze, you don't really need to do that because you have enough damage that you can just power through quickly. But on platinum, if you take out one of those side turrets, it does not stagger them. They will just continue doing that animation. So it is mechanically different in that way. I think they still get staggered on gold when you take out the turrets, but I can't remember if platinum is the threshold or if gold is the first point where they start doing that a little bit differently. But it's one of those subtle things that you might not have ever realized, but is actually a thing. And there are some circumstances where it's a somewhat significant difference maker. Like in this case, we're just trying to power through the enemies as quickly as possible. Also, they don't respawn on bronze, so just take them out as quickly as possible and then they're gone for good. That is definitely not the case on higher difficulties.
They're firing.
Yeah, something you can think about every once in a while when you're playing as a potential little every once in a while way you can make some improvements to your game. But there we go. So we did, what, almost half of that as a solo, because they showed up mid-first objective. So I'm curious, as we were talking about at the beginning, what does that mean in terms of, did we end up getting enough points to get the Remnant Mastery in one go? We did. We did. Although it's 35,000 is the threshold for that, so it was kind of close. You can see how, if this other person were here for the entire time, we might not have made that threshold. And yeah, they do look quite new. Okay, well that's fine. We can help them out, and we are basically just looking to do this same thing here. And we could, of course, bump up the difficulty here, now that we do have a second person, but given how they are very new, I feel like I might scare them off if I do that, so probably just gonna keep it as is, to be honest. They got a few levels at least. I always wonder when you have random pugs in your lobby like this and they're a low level, say starting off as they were probably level 1 when they were going into that first match there. Now they're level 3. In that brief time in between matches, do you think they spect those skill points that they gained from those couple of levels? Or are they going in as what is on paper a level 3 character, but with a bunch of unspec'd skill points, and therefore they're functionally still a level 1? They would have had to have been pretty quick to have spent those skill points there. They did not dilly-dally much. Maybe if they came in with a plan and knew exactly what they wanted to spend those skill points on, they might have done it quickly enough, but I feel like that's probably fairly unlikely. And the other thing you could consider in this circumstance, given how we have now gotten the daily for Remnant Mastery, we have all the points we need to be done with that daily. But any point we score, at least when it comes to damaging or defeating enemies, those are points that our teammate is not scoring. If we assume that their previous match was their first match of the day, they would likely still need quite a few more points before they have their Remnant Mastery complete. So, all that is to say, do we deliberately not do as much damage / killing in order to help them finish their Remnant Mastery daily as well? I mean, feels a little,
Enemies incoming.
maybe like that's a little too much. They could always play another match after this, and if we're just quite literally dancing around doing nothing, then of course that's going to make this a more time-consuming match and more difficult, because we are not going to be contributing much in that case. So, don't think we need to overthink that too much. In this case, there is going to be a exploding creature behind us. Third one. Here. So yeah, that's something that I sometimes think of, at least when I'm on the opposite end, when I'm the one who still needs points and say, you know, it's close to the daily resetting, and it's one of the ones that's a little harder to get than the enemy-specific ones, since, as I was saying before, technically speaking, the Remnant, Ket, or Outlaw-specific dailies are the easiest of the various point-scoring ones, because you get credit not only for the points from killing and damaging enemies, but also from the objectives. Whereas, take Tech Mastery, for example, which, by some accounts, might be the most difficult one to get. If I am, you know, relatively late in the day, when it's kind of close to that daily resetting, still trying to complete the Tech Mastery stuff, and it's a little bit of a struggle, because outside of Flamethrower, there there aren't that many tech-related skills that deal a bunch of damage and are therefore good for farming up the tech mastery in just a couple of matches. Oftentimes takes more than that. So if I then see someone who is going around and just making absolutely... If someone is going around and just missiling every big enemy that they see, then sometimes that gets a little frustrating, because it's like, okay, well, sure, maybe you are fine with your dailies right now, or maybe you're just not trying to get them. But at the same time, it does kind of feel like you're going out of your way to make it more difficult for your teammates to get the dailies they're looking to get. Especially if you can clearly tell that your teammates are trying to do a specific daily, like they are exclusively using grenades for the combat mastery, or a whole bunch of overload, or whatever it might be for the tech daily. Stuff like that. So, in those circumstances where there is a daily, it's close to expiring, and it's a somewhat difficult one to get, and you can see that your teammates are very clearly trying to work toward it, and you're just going through and pawing everything to death, or missiling everything to death, then at that point it feels a little obnoxious to me at times. So that's where, as I said, on this occasion, I'm trying to be a little conscious of that, since we are obviously running around killing a whole bunch of stuff with paw, but since the daily is not about to reset, and since this one is considerably easier to get than a tech mastery or something like that, I don't think we need to be quite as concerned on that front. Oh, that is an enemy. Wow. You were standing so perfectly still. Could have fooled me. You did fool me for a split second. Excuse me. Please stop doing that. Were they? They were charging up some kind of skill. I thought they were the base human soldiers, so I thought that must have been a frag grenade, and they were holding that for a long time. I didn't see it blow up, but I was a little concerned for them.
Nice job, Apex.
Wasn't their wrist lighting up as if they were charging up a power? I thought their wrist was glowing orange. It's definitely a base human, because that was just a concussive shot.
Enemies incoming.
I think that must have been a frag grenade. I didn't see it blow up. They felt like they were holding it long enough that it would have. Ow. Yeah, there's someone behind us. Now there's still someone behind us. It's a little slow to start hitting you there, but okay, we still win that race. We'll take it. Yeah, and the other thing is, in this case, given how, at least based on the Apex rating, it looks like this person is quite new, then it's maybe not the worst thing. We're getting a fair bit of kills and helping them out, just making sure that we finish the match, because that, I mean, you can look back, we have the records. Our first, our first several matches of Andromeda multiplayer were a little rocky, to say the very least. So, just completing a match to get experience, to get some credits, to get stronger,
Stay alert.
that's important at the very beginning. And, you know, sometimes we might take that for granted. People who are a little more experienced and have had the time to power up their characters and learn the ropes.
Of interest.
Just kind of let them do it, because they seemed eager. Then they hesitate. So, it's okay. Oh, I was not sure if I was going to make that jump.
Fact is secure.
Hello, friends. Yeah, I see that I'm blocked. I'm... Okay. Sure, let's do something about that then. Oh, or not. Never mind. Please go away now. Please go away now. Please go away now. Thank you. Uh-oh. Okay. At least... Oh, they gelled through it. I'm a little surprised. I was gonna say, at least it happened after we had gotten through the little pickle we found ourselves in before. We probably could have managed to get them there, but it's fine. That's another thing in the very early stages is the heal, the health packs, the metagels, missiles, all that stuff. They're not that plentiful.
Hang in there, Apex. Artifact recovered.
Now, which I'm about to need.
Reading a flat line.
Almost
Oh,
there.
they gelled through that one as well, okay. I mean, it is, of course, in general, hardest to revive someone when you're in the middle of doing the objective. Pizza is generally the easiest objective by a pretty wide margin, so this is kind of the exception. But in other circumstances, if we were doing, like, devices, where there's not a lot of time, not a lot of wiggle room there. If someone goes down when you're in the middle of doing it, or you're trying to get over to do a device, you have to run to the other side of the map to get them, then sometimes you might be cutting things very close in that situation.
Time to go. Get to the extraction site.
In which case, just having someone gel is oftentimes the ideal solution. Oh, hello. Everyone spawned behind us, I see. Oh, and then another thing, just going back to the whole farming up the maximum number of points per mission idea that we were kind of talking about last time. The type of objectives that you get can actually be a pretty significant factor in that if you are truly trying to get as many points in one match as possible. Because take pizza actually is maybe the best example. You can deliberately deliver the first 3 pizzas, pick up the 4th pizza, and then rather than immediately deliver it, just have it on your back for a little while. Sure, it slows you down, but instead of delivering it immediately, you just farm up, taking out more enemies, because they will spawn indefinitely while the objective is still active. Everyone except for the destroyers, at least on bronze. And that is ultimately going to be worth more points than you would get from completing the objective quickly, assuming that you're killing the enemies with any sort of speed. So, if for whatever reason that is a concern of yours, getting as many points as possible in one match, then technically that is kind of the ideal way to do it. Not necessary here, of course, as we were saying before, but sometimes, every once in a while, that might be a factor. There you see, okay. Good example again of that time we had someone else in the lobby for the entire match, and we just barely hit that 35,000 point threshold. Again, didn't matter in this case because we already had that daily completed, but just to show you how close you can sometimes be to that magic number from getting one match. And that number is all of that 35,081 points would count toward Remnant Mastery or Ket Mastery, or outlaw mastery, unlike when you have things like biotic mastery or tech mastery, because in that case you're only getting a subset of your total score that applies toward the specific daily. Alright, so that does mean that we are done with both of the dailies. Our new friend here, I assume, probably still needs both these things, to be honest, since they joined in the middle of our first match for the map, and then I was not looking that closely at how many points they had, and therefore how close they would be to Remnant Mastery. Across the two matches, they're probably getting kind of close, but I suspect they probably are not there yet. Just want to see what our Apex missions look like. This is sort of the closest thing to being helpful, but don't really think that's gonna be the best idea, so I guess we could do one more to help out our buddy here. In which case, maybe we'll mix it up a little bit. Go with the Kineticist, our other character who we are trying to farm up a bonus stat on, that max health. Not great against Remnant, but since it's bronze, it's not a huge deal, and we could always just end up going the paw route, of course. Which I think we still have on this character, although I did not double check. So, we will see. Paw and Avenger Scythe. Paw Concussive and Avenger Scythe, that is.
You know the drill. Hold this position, clear on enemy forces.
And this also, as we were saying, just gives this other person one more match worth of experience and credits, and I mean there's... Oh. I totally did that. Thinking it was going to be an energy drain, as if we were still playing the Human Sentinel. No, we are not. Oh, did we not get enough kills to ascend yet? There we go. Okay, now we're in business. But yeah, now this person has had one more match to get a little more experience, a little more credits, and I mean, being a level 1 character is just, that's tough. Especially if you don't have any of the other ranks. So you truly just have just about nothing to build off of. Starting weapons as well. You know, they theoretically may have the Ghost, which is very solid early on, although they aren't using it right now, so they are just working with the Avenger, it seemed, and that's significantly weaker in most circumstances. Wait.
We're tracking reinforcements.
That was great.
What? Did they just unlock the paw? Excuse me? I was like, that looked an awful lot like a laser beam. Was that my laser beam, or was that their laser beam? No? Alright, well, seems like they just almost immediately got the strongest weapon in the game. Then that may have just answered our question about, are they using any of the resources that they've recently acquired? Certainly at least their credits, or mission funds, it seems like, because we know they did not have that paw before. Now I want to check them. Now I want to confirm the kill feed, see if it pops up there. Yeah, that says paw. Alright, well, there you go. We have now... it seems like they must have just unlocked it, because they were not using it in the previous match. Maybe they were just holding on to it, and for whatever reason they hadn't dusted it off yet, although with their Apex rating being as low as it was, that their Apex rating does change when you unlock stuff. So it was low enough to suggest they did not have many things unlocked. So it's unlikely they were just hoarding that paw and for whatever reason chose not to use it. No, they probably did legitimately just unlock it. Which basically means we've achieved what we set out to achieve. We bought them enough time when they were just a little beginner, no tools to work with. Now they've had the time to immediately catapult themselves into the next level with well, several levels up now with that paw. I mean, yes, Paw 1, of course, is not the same as Paw 10, and there are definitely some weapon mods that can make the Paw a lot more effective, and they very well may not have those unlocked yet, but the Paw is still the Paw, make no mistake. So, I think they will find things just got a lot easier. They grow up so fast, don't they? Right before our very eyes. Feels like just yesterday they were learning to walk. Oh, yeah, you are doing that. Where's that coming from? Over here? Wow. Shooting me through multiple walls. That's commitment. We did end up getting another random person. Saw that person was using Inferno, which is... That is an ultra rare, isn't it? Isn't that the ultra rare Remnant sniper rifle? Which is not horrible. Just, you know, overshadowed by other Remnant weapons. Namely the Paw. And the Shadow, despite being a rare, is probably still better. If I'm remembering Inferno correctly, which honestly I may not be, because we're not regularly using that weapon. It's also, it's a little more of a quote-unquote normal sniper rifle. It is a, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's a heat-based sniper rifle, but it still fires single shot. Unlike the Shadow, which is basically a Paw with a scope. So it functions a lot more like an assault rifle, even if it doesn't have the same clip size that the Paw has, making it feel a little less like an overpowered sniper rifle, or overpowered assault rifle. It is very much assault rifle-esque, nonetheless. Which is all to say... Oh, and we got another person. I don't recognize any of these people. I mean, granted, this is also not usually the time that I would be playing, but... also, it's on bronze, so it's more likely that we're getting newer people in. But, using the Inferno, and its base Inferno, right? I don't think we saw any of the fancy schmancy siphon effects or anything like that. I'm just trying to take cover like this. As you can see, it didn't exactly go according to plan. Also, we are going to die. Ralcius.
Thank you.
Oh, that's also a Kineticist. And the Kineticist is an ultra-rare character. Which suggests, again, you know, you have like one level, one rank of an ultra-rare character or weapon, and maybe you just got lucky and unlocked the Paw almost immediately, like we saw with the first person. Or maybe you've been around a little while longer than that, and you have a few ultra rares that happens to be the one that you're using, but you don't have, or just choosing not to use, what would often be considered the strongest. I mean, to be fair, the Kineticist person might be a fully ranked up Kineticist, we just don't really know. The weapons are a little bit easier to tell. We'll go here. Let's see. That is the first person we were with, and I mean, we basically soloed all the objectives in the previous match, but it seems like they're getting the idea for this one, and this is our first time having an upload with them. Might be the first time they've ever done this objective, but they're doing it. They have the spirit. Oops. I waited too long. Technically, we're not prime. Ah. Found where the destroyers went. All set there as well. Oh, what? Oh, did someone else get it before we did? Revenant Siphon. Yeah, that's an interesting choice. Actually not a bad weapon in Andromeda. Significantly better than it is in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. It's Siphon, which of course means they've leveled it up quite a bit. Which is maybe the more interesting part. Does that mean that they just don't have... They've, like, prioritized maxing out their rares before they worked on their ultra rares? So that's their rare of choice? I mean, that's understandable if that's the case, but if they do have ultra rares, choosing the Revenant Siphon over ultra rare is... it's a decision. I mean, honestly, it's similar to the Ghost, which is probably better than some ultra rare weapons, so it's not that crazy. But it's just... I'd like to hear the thought process, because it's unusual. Even if it's nothing wrong with it, it's a pretty solid choice. You just don't see it very often. Semblers to a interesting little 360, possibly even 720 as we were lifting him. Flew them up right in front of those guys. Sorry. Didn't mean to steal those from you. Should think about heading over. We aren't that far away, fortunately, but also don't know how mindful other people are being of the timer. They were not... oh, hello. They were not camping the LZ, which is usually a good thing. I mean, it doesn't matter that much on bronze. These enemies aren't too much of a threat, but want to make sure everyone still gets in at the end, and I think they did. Pretty sure that was still a full extraction. Okay, so now I'm curious. So yeah, their Apex rating went up fairly quickly. They were in the 200s before, which, well, part of that might be that they just finished one or both of the dailies, which does give you a burst of Apex rating, or they cashed in a bunch of their credits, a bunch, air quotes, for having just done a few bronzes, and that just so happened to be enough to get them a paw. Well, I'm pretty jealous, because it took us so much longer to get our first paw. Then you see, okay, Inferno Shadow for the other person, and then Revenant Siphon Scattershot, and those people are a little more experienced, and that makes sense, given how those probably take a little bit longer to unlock, given how they have the higher levels on those. But with that being said, now that we are done with the dailies, and we have seen our teammates grow up right before our very eyes, I think we will probably call it right there, because again, basically just doing a little catch-up / fill-in session here, since we missed the usual session, since I was sick at the time and kind of still am sick now, so don't want to push it too much, but there you go, just a little bit of Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer to hold you guys over until the next time. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.